Good morning, everyone. This is Truth and Oneness Discussions by Enlightened Living. Hopefully this time we don't get interrupted by any children. But anyways, we're going to discuss a video that was done by the YouTube channel. It's called Dr. Jason Loken ND. It looks like it's a naturopathic doctor. And it looks like they put up videos about like natural health and stuff, and then recently looks like there's a lot of videos regarding the spiritual awakening process, and they do a lot of interviews with people. So this video here is a Q&A with Magenta Pixie. And Magenta Pixie, I don't listen to that much, but the few videos I have heard of her, I think I've done videos on them. We've done like discussions on the few videos I have listened to her, but she channels this consciousness group called the Nine. And she has a YouTube channel as well, so people can look into that if they are interested. But this was an interesting discussion. I think it kind of, what I like about her videos or her discussions, and there's lots of people that have like good information, but it kind of like, I feel like it explains it to where it resonates. Is that the word? It resonates
Yes.
with my understanding of things. But anyways, so we can just jump right in. Starting the video, this is I think it's like a 2.5 hour long video, so I'll link it in the description box. People can go listen to it and get information from it. But one of the things that they discussed in the book was December 21st. So this was interesting to me. What she talked about was that the event that happened on December 21st was the bifurcation of timeline. So like the distinct separation of these two specific timelines. The timelines of kind of the lower vibration energy, fear, control, mainstream media sort of thing. And then the other timeline of sort of the higher vibration, higher frequency, moving more toward the, I guess, 4D and 5D. I think I'm interpreting this correctly, but obviously listen to the video and you can hear exactly what she said about it. But this is what I kind of got from that. So basically, yes, so December 21st was the date that the bifurcation split happened. And she talks about like different dates leading up to that. Like I think they mentioned 2012, and I think they even mentioned 1987, and kind of like the time history leading up to this date. So it's kind of interesting to listen to that. What do you think about that? Because I know you mentioned that, yeah, you on that day you noticed a sudden like peace in the air, peacefulness in the air, or whatever. Like you're probably picking up on that that separation, and I guess we're on maybe the peaceful side. I don't know. But go ahead.
So yeah, during that time, it felt like a very calming out of nowhere. So I guess I could see how like the full separation would start to be like. So you're saying this is two different timelines. That's pretty interesting. So it's
changed. Yeah, so it was
yeah.
like I guess they were together before then, and then like on that date they like literally separated.
Did the full separation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and I think from now on you can, I guess, sort of, you can bring your energy down to the other world or bring your energy up to the other world, but there's a clear separation
Gotcha.
now. I think that's what there's.
And we've talked something similar about like parallel dimensions and like how and realities that like people like are experiencing but that's pretty interesting. That's it's becoming a clear cut separation, not something that you can kind of blur or bend or like kind of walk between very easily. It seems like with the full separation happening now, it's like gonna be more difficult to go between the two. But it is pretty fascinating because yeah, I did feel very calm, like in the air, like there's like this stillness, this like very serene feeling, which is not something I would typically experience while just being outside. You'd typically pick up on at least some people's like tensions and stuff like that, but a lot of that was kind of removed, which was pretty interesting.
Or it wasn't noticed anymore.
Yeah.
I think I felt that a little bit too. Yeah. Kind of in the air of the people. But even now, though, I can still, like when we were in town the other day, like it's like a vibration. You feel like the after vibration effects of like the stress or tension or something. Maybe it's the cosmic alignments or something. That's you're feeling like the tension in the stars or the planets alignment or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So that was interesting. Any other thoughts on that?
No, when you mentioned being back in town, is actually pretty interesting because a lot of times we're able to pick up on a lot of that tensions and stuff like that. Like I just remember driving through the traffic and everything like that. It almost seemed like foreign now to see like people doing aggressive driving and being angry. I was just like, whoa, okay, all right. But before I was like really used to it, and like, but this time I definitely felt more removed from it. It's almost like someone from another like.
Like you're watching
It's
it on
almost like
like you're watching it on TV.
yeah, it's almost yeah, it's something like that, or like it's almost felt like a foreigner like came in, didn't know how to drive, was like flying around. And you're like, whoa, okay, that's not what you do around here. Like that's kind of aggressive. Kind of calm down a little bit, please. It's pretty interesting because it's like, yeah,
Very interesting. And then another thing she mentioned, and they talk about, is the ascension of the body. So the physical changes the body is going through during the ascension process. So ascension, a lot of people are really caught up on like, oh, ascension and like, I mean, not maybe a lot of people, just a few certain YouTubers that I won't mention because I don't want to like make fun of anyone. but um so they talk about like the changes, there are actual changes going on in the physical body. Like I think we mentioned in our last video, the how they on the molecular DNA level, the DNA strands are going from like 2 DNA up to I think the maximum is like 12 DNA strands. But basically we're going from carbon based physical bodies to crystalline or silicone based physical bodies. And so these are bodies that are more, I guess, better adapted, like healing or like probably don't need to eat as much food, that kind of thing, more higher frequency. Letting and how you do this, it's obviously I think we talk about it pretty much every video, but like
prepare your body.
yeah, eating clean foods, eating foods that are in alignment with your inner being, right? And allowing yourself to let the higher frequency energy into your body. So meditation is good for that as well, and kind of just practicing, active meditation is what they call it, where you just, let the light shine through you and out to everyone, that kind of thing. But so what do you think about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I definitely can see how that's happening. As things are progressing, it's like we can sense it and feel it, like in the air, like things are changing. And the thing is, like, you'll get like things like headaches, and you'll get body aches and other things like that because your body's trying to change. You're like, why did that come out of nowhere? It's like, am I getting sick or something? No, you're not, because you don't feel sick or anything like that. And when you're talking about like the whole like eating and meditating, and it's like I know a lot of people have seen the picture, especially if you're listening to this, where there's like four people sitting next to each other, and in front of them is like a plate of food. The bigger plates of food, like it shows them. Then as this plates of food get smaller down to like nothing, then you see like they have like a colored version of themselves, like layers behind them that trail off in the distance.
I think you might have to either post that picture
Oh,
or
okay.
try to describe it. I don't know if people
Maybe,
know what you're talking about.
but yeah. So it's things are definitely changing, and you can see how like if you are aware of these things, you can actually definitely feel like subtle things happening here and there. Like you're like, okay,
But yeah, I think I was gonna say with the picture, yeah, basically, as you let in more light and your frequency of the body changes and this ascension process happens, you don't need as much dense, heavy food to support the body, right? Your body is supported on more light energy than like physical food energy,
yeah,
and that's depicted in the pictures.
yes, there you go. But yeah, it's just pay attention to yourself and your body, and like you'll start to feel it if you actually are paying attention. A lot of times, I know a lot of people are very distracted right now with a lot of other things going on, but if you actually take the time to, as you're saying, meditate and whatnot, you'll start to feel the changes, and if you maintain that, that's a that's kind of where we're going. But it's like you have to maintain it. You actually have to keep actively doing these things. You can't just kind of just give up on it.
Yeah. And so another thing they mentioned real quick in the book is I think someone had asked a question for or not the book, the discussion about pets in Ascension. And so I've always been the pets can ascend. They don't need our help to ascend. They just need our kind of like support and guidance, meaning, feed them the best food that you can, as far as, but within their species specific food, right? And that's what that's what she talks about, basically species specific food. If you can do organic food, that's good. But they don't need our help to ascend, okay? And they mention a book that she has out that talks about diet in general and Ascension, if anyone's interested in that kind of stuff. I think another quick thing they mentioned too, if you listen to the video, you'll see that. But so we're going to move more into, I think, around the hour and 45-minute mark on her video. They talk about the administration or the politics in a little bit, and Trump and all that stuff. I know we talked about it a little bit on our last video, kind of how things are like, what? And it's kind of like watching a play pretty much on the stage right now. And I feel like I've gotten so detached from the whole thing. But to the point where I still feel like, because they're playing good cop, bad cop, sort of. They're playing the roles, but it's kind of like how we all come into the body, into this physical plane to play roles, So it's like, I don't know, it's just interesting. I like how Magenta talks about Trump, too, because it's kind of in alignment with what I kind of feel about him, too. Like, she could see that he's the good guy sort of thing.
Yeah.
The good guy quote, right?
Yes.
Hold on.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty interesting when we were discussing the whole administration thing and like how things are going. It's like, yeah, you get to see that when the more you're removed from it, it is literally like watching a play or a movie. It's like you can't even understand it anymore. It just becomes like a thing that you're like, okay, do we really need any of this governing? But it's like you can see that there are people out there that, especially in these administrations, like that are actually looking out for our best interest, or like trying to share versus trying to take. And I think they go a little bit into that too, about how some people are here and they might have been born with the silver spoon, but they're actually trying to like share the silver spoon with other people. And that is like one of the main things that that you kind of have to have that kind of like material wealth to actually be able to kind of play that part, that piece. You have a squealy little pig in our midst, but it's okay.
Yeah, that's basically what she says. That's what Trump's role is, basically. Sharing the silver spoon, basically, and kind of getting us on track for, the raising of the frequency of, like, the entire, world on the Ascension process, basically, right? And she's still adamant that, or pretty certain that things are going to go in the direction with him getting switching back to him being in charge. It's charge, quote-unquote, in charge, right? And they talk about it a little bit more, but I thought that was interesting because I still feel like it too. Like but like we talked about in the last video, it's like, I feel like, yeah, that would probably happen, but that wouldn't be enough. Like, it need to, maybe not immediately, but move toward, not so much, well, now we have another president. Like, excellent, we've been saved, yeah. It's got to evolve more from us, any country really needing, like, a president or someone telling them, how to do things and all that kind of, you know what I mean? Something like that. But
exactly. It's like we don't need people to tell us how to breathe, eat, and all that other nonsense.
Taxes, paying for everything.
It's like, you need our help, so give me stuff and I will tell you how to live your life. Yeah, we don't need that. And then it looks like then they started, it progresses to the flat Earth versus the globe Earth, and like, what is it? How do you describe it?
Yeah. One of the questions that they had given her to answer was, for the 9-day answer was, is the Earth flat or a globe? And they said the answer was that it's neither and it's both. And I thought that was kind of interesting because, they said the first thing they were said was, this is not important for Ascension at all, but we'll answer it, sort of thing. So I thought this was interesting because we've been really into I think we've even gotten to a point where we're like, it's not necessarily flat, like the flat earthers model that most are presented, and seeing even more beyond that, where it could be pretty much kind of what you think it could, anything that you think. And that was what they really were discussing, is about how it's both because our minds are making our environment the way we want it to be. So if you believe that you're on a ball, then you are on a ball. If you believe you're on a flat plane, then you're on a flat plane. And in that sense, because we are creators of our reality, our minds create what we see in front of us. We create what we see. And anyone who's a ball earther will find all the proof in the world to show that that's the truth. And if you're a flat earther or anything in between or whatever you are, you're going to find all the proof to show that that's what you are, because that's your reality you live in. And the other thing they were mentioning too, it was like there's almost like multiple versions of Earth or planets or whatever of Earth. So it's like if you're living on the ball Earth, you are living on the ball Earth, because that's where you live. That's the dimension that you live in. And if you come out of that dimension to the flat Earth or another one, then you've literally gone into a different dimension.
Yeah, definitely. It's I think we've actually, as you're saying, like we kind of discussed this kind of thing before. It literally is what you want it to be. And anyone that's out there that's a flat earther, that's tried to explain it to someone that believes it's a globe, you already know how many times you butt heads, and both sides comes with equal amounts of information saying one side is wrong, one side's right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just is what it is. And there is going to be multiple aspects. It's like, all right, there's probably going to be more people coming forward and being like, actually, it's not flat, it's not a globe, it's actually this. And people are going to be like, oh, wait, what? And then there's going to be maybe even more. It's like, it's not that important.
Yeah, and that is another thing they brought up too. It's like, this is one of those things that just get people polarized, get them fighting. And just kind of like, we talk about the whole slave trade thing, did it happen? Did it not? The way that we think it happened, based on our research, it didn't. But the people that are still believe that, they're in a dimension where it did happen. You know what I mean? Absolutely. So it's like, it gets so like weird, and like,
then you realize really it's like, it's not even worth like making this dynamic where you battle. It's like, you're like, okay, all that stuff is a waste of my time and waste of people's time, because it just causes aggression. And it's like, there is whatever dimension you live in, like that is the truth. So like, let's just, I like how we're going forward now. We're like, how can we help people without like describing or trying to break down like their fundamentals? We're like, how can we help people, like healing them, teaching them things about how to take care of themselves instead of being like anything else.
But I think the important thing too is showing them that you do create your reality. You create the world that you live in for the most part, and that's what. Actually, I liked what you said about it's kind of like asking. And here's the thing too, perspective. Because I think we talked about this in one of our previous videos. It's like, I was like, well, how come any higher dimensional like channelings that people like bring down, they never mention anything about the flat Earth? Isn't this like important for like ascent or like awakening or whatever? And I understand why they don't, because this is the thing, is in the grand scheme of things, it's not. But I think it's just understanding that we create our reality. That's the important part. And also understanding that the Earth is not one specific thing or another. They mentioned in there that the Earth is a living, breathing organism, basically. The living being, and the shape can change, but also it's kind of like what you said. It's like asking the human body, it's like, well, are you round? And you're like, sure, I guess there's round parts on me. Yeah. are you flat? Yeah, I mean, I guess there's flat parts, but no, you're not really round or flat, you know?
Yeah, that's like what I was saying. It's like, how do you describe the shape of the human body when there is no words to define it besides it's a human body? I mean, it's like if you don't even know like the Earth is like a certain like kind of thing, and it can't change based on your perspective. It's like that's why it's like it's a kind of it's like irrelevant. You can't even explain it. You're like, well, it's Can we just move past this? Like, does this really matter? No, no, please describe it. Is it flat? Yeah, I guess. Is it round? Sure. It's like it. Yeah, you can't. It's just is such a grand thing.
When you get to that point.
When you get to that
you see
point,
that, yeah.
you can see that for sure. Uh, but we're getting
What I
there.
wanted to say, no, I wanted to say that from their perspective, so this whole, flat Earth versus globe Earth idea has only been around for like the last 500 years, right? And I think it did start as a mind control, sort of psyop mind control thing. Because again, is if you tell people this is what is, and it's from the basis of random kind of random acts, um, then people are gonna and people start believing that, then they've created that reality for themselves, that you are on a spinning globe and you could get hit by an asteroid at any minute, that kind of thing. But you've created it for yourself because you've been told this. But still, the important thing is that you created it for yourself.
Absolutely. And you can definitely see that pretty much with anything that people start to believe, that they just create this reality and like they start to live it, and it just is. It's very interesting because we've actually even seen this. Everyone that's been around this generation have seen it with the whole like COVID nonsense.
Oh, but so from their perspective, from a higher consciousness, someone who's not living on the earth, they could easily say that they could be like, well, to them, time is not like more of an illusion thing. Hold on, a higher frequency, a higher perspective, and also who hasn't maybe lived on the earth plane at least any time recently, then 500 years could seem like, a minute ago or a day ago. So it's like yesterday the kids were fighting over, some stupid toy and it's like, this is not important, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like from that perspective. And so yeah, they're gonna from that I can see how it's completely just not important from that perspective. But also, like I was saying, I think it is from the standpoint of knowing that someone else is telling you what to believe, and that's how. Because again, before the whole global Earth model, there was various versions of stationary or like flat-ish looking Earth type things throughout many societies and whatnot. And then we have this global Earth model that was put in place, and I still believe it was put in place to change maybe, the direction of humanity's thought process. And so in that, it was a form of control.
Yeah.
And from that perspective, I think it's important to at least understand that that might not be 100% correct, because at least all and everything that comes with it, the thought processes and the frequency maybe that comes with it, you might want to reevaluate that, I guess, sort of. And then, of course, the big thing that's important about this is understanding that you have the choice of what you live in, or you create your surrounding, your reality, and all that stuff. What else? Still, to me, if I go out and look at sort of the evidence, it at least shows that the Earth, that the stars rotate, in some sort of a firmament, that the sun and the moon are rather close, and so the stars are rather close too, and that the plane, I've never seen like a curve or anything like that. If you go high up enough, it always looks like a pretty, flat area. From that perspective, that tells me that at least the globe Earth model is not correct. What is correct, again, it's sort of like irrelevant from the point that, again, that like they mentioned, the Earth is a living being, changes its shape. We change the shape of it or the shape of what we're living on. And yeah, I guess the take home message from that is that the power is in your hands. You don't need to believe either, you know, side or any model specifically. Anyone that says they know exactly what the earth looks like or what's going on probably doesn't know 100%. They probably know for themselves what it is, but don't just believe what other people are saying, basically. I guess that's kind of like the take home message from that. Any last thoughts? We're going to have to edit this video. Any last thoughts here?
Uh, Nothing really to add except for it's funny when you think about like that whole Earth thing, because like as I said before in one of our videos, is like how early on in your life did they start like bombarding you with this idea that you're on a globe flying through the universe? It's pretty interesting. But yeah, that's actually that video and all the stuff you're talking about. It's a lot to unpack for some people, especially if it's the first time you're hearing some of these things. But definitely take your time and kind of like allow it to happen. Figure out where you want to be and where we're going. And yes, if you felt it too, December 21st, you can definitely tell there's a difference now. Especially, it was interesting because like for like, what was like, the energy was like all like weird and stuff like that for like the week or 2 weeks afterwards. Like, but then it sort of like it calmed way down again. So it's like you can feel it was almost like it was like pulling apart the rest of the way. Then it's like it finally like broke free, and now here we are. It's pretty interesting. All right, that about ends. You don't have anything else?
No, I just hope that someone gets something useful out of this video and look at the what is it, Doctor whatever. I'll link it in the description box. Look at the video that we're discussing on if you'd like to. And I think it's important, yeah, to realize that we're basically at the point where we should know, we have so much control over what goes on in our lives. So don't be, again, as we say, don't be frustrated at what's going on on news or on TV right now. If you are one of those people that are feeling very constricted by rules or maybe in your town that you live in, don't be too weighed down by that kind of stuff, because it's coming to a close, as they say. Follow your inner guidance, eat good foods, take care of your body, yada yada yada. Right? All right, peace out.